Nice one, Russ.
Hello everyone, how are you doing?
Yay!
I want you to cast your mind back 2 years to how things were in this country. We were locked down. We were not able to meet a friend. We were not able to visit a loved one in hospital. We were not able to visit a relative. We were not able to go and walk on a hill without being harassed, without being bullied, without being threatened, without being arrested. And I'm not sure it's much better today. During those times, I used to tweet at Nicola Sturgeon and I would say, "Nicola, let my people go." But I didn't know how true those words were because he still hasn't. And I was reading in scripture that when the Israelites first asked to be released, they wanted 3 days. They wanted to go into the desert 3 days walk. And they wanted to worship God. And that's what Pharaoh said no to. It wasn't their complete liberation, it was a holiday. They weren't allowed to have a holiday. Does this ring any bells? And why did Pharaoh not want them to go out into the desert? Because Pharaoh said, "I am God, you must worship me." And that's what our state has done. They have said that they are the salvation, they are liberation. They will save you from death, they will save you from everything if you just give them your complete obedience. And it's always been like this. When they took Christ out, when they were about to crucify him, they said to the crowd, "But this is your king." And the crowd, the masses of men, the people who did not listen to the truth said, "We have no king but Caesar." And what you're being asked to believe by Nicola, by Westminster, by the UN, by the whole team, is that you have no king but them. That they are your king, that they are your God, that they are not required to tell the truth, to live the truth, to uphold the law the same that everyone else is, that they are special, that they have special powers, that you must obey. But you don't have to obey them because they are not obeying the truth. The reason that you don't have to obey them is that they are liars. They've lied to us about COVID. If it wasn't for the fear-mongering, no one would have noticed. It would have been simply another seasonal flu, but the fear-mongering, the PR, the spin, the press, the experts, they all backed the new God of the state. And I want to thank you all for coming out today, because you represent that small kernel of right thinking and well-doing in this country that says, we do not consent. It says there is a higher obligation that requires truth, not lies. That requires us to follow God, not man. That requires us to not bend the knee to Caesar. That requires us to be free.
No to their Roman law.
So free we are, and free we will be, whatever they do. And I want to thank you all today for coming out to be free and to be together, to be unafraid, and to be all these good things.
Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Yeah!
Gentlemen.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Can I ask how many of you are UK column supporters? Okay, thank you very much for that. Now let's do the important things. I realise that today I am a guest in your city. So I've come up from south of the border. This is my first real time in Glasgow.
That's two of us!
I'd like to say thank you very much for the very warm welcome that I've had today. It's been utterly brilliant to see you all out talking about the really important things. I'll admit I have been to Edinburgh before, but just keep that quiet. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something, and that is that we've had quite a lot of police here today who've given up their day. They're required to do some policing.
Keep the peace!
We've talked to the police as the marches have got on about why you're all here and what the important things. And they've been interested. So I wonder whether you might turn around and give the police a round of applause for the fact that they've policed this in general pretty well today. Would you be prepared to do that?
Constables and officers! Thanks, constables! No consent though, by the way.
Okay, now, David Scott promised me a little bit of a break coming up here. He said it would be sunny, it would be quite warm. I found the reality a little bit different.
That was yesterday.
But let's talk about the important things. How many of you are drivers? In that case, you will have noticed the potholes in the road.
Yeah.
We've got potholes in the road down south in England as well. And potholes are very interesting things because they start off very small. And slowly, almost without you noticing them, they get bigger. And they get bigger. And then eventually you get to the stage where the wheel of your car drops in the hole. And it blows your tyre or it damages the wheel or the suspension. And what I'm trying to illustrate by telling you this is that those potholes start and they grow slowly. And if we don't do anything about those potholes, then ultimately we are the ones that suffer. And we're all here today because we're very concerned about freedoms and our rights. We're very concerned about what's happening to society with vaccines, amongst other things. But a lot of this is the result of our inactivity. We all have to look back and say, many years ago, if we had all done the right things, we wouldn't be in this mess today. So the potholes crept up and all these problems crept up in our lives. But where are we? I would like to say that today, as we are here in quite friendly surroundings, the death toll for the Ukrainians is about 150,000 men killed and 500,000 wounded. And yet there is not a murmur on the BBC or the press talking about the real casualties in Ukraine. And what are we doing? Is the Scottish government calling for peace? Is Westminster calling for peace? No, we have got billions of pounds of money, not to fill the holes in the road, but to provide weapons and ammunition into the war in Ukraine. This is wrong. If we look at what's happening in this country, we've had enforced vaccination effectively, and we now have thousands of people dead, and we have thousands and thousands of people injured as a result of vaccine harm. And despite all the evidence collected by the Medicines and Health Regulation Authority through their yellow card system, none of the mainstream media is reporting the true scale of the harm to the population. And even knowing the damage done to adults, the Scottish Government and Westminster are now saying that children should be vaccinated. And yet the risks to the children of those vaccinations are even greater. So you've had the courage today to come onto the streets with your banners talking about vaccine damage, and you need to stay on the case, because until we get the lid off it, thousands and thousands of more adults and children are going to be harmed. But it is not only our physical body that they're coming for, because we've now got the relationship and sex education in schools, where children are to be taught inappropriate, vile things at an ever earlier age, not because you as parents wanted them to know this, but because the government said you have to do it because we're going to make it law. This is wrong. And until everybody stands up and says it's wrong, it's not going to stop. We've warned for many years in the UK column. We've done many talks. We've done thousands of hours of news warning people what was going to come. And I remember one talk I did many years, probably 15 years ago, when one of the audience said, "Brian, what do these people want to do?" And I said to the audience, "They want to kill us." And several people laughed. I can still see that audience. Several people laughed at me. Well, the people who are vaccine injured and have lost relatives are not laughing now. And this is only the start. We are up against a system which is evil. And we are now at a point where we are on the knife edge. You cannot sit on the fence. The time's come that you've got to stand up, we've got to stand up, and we've got to keep pushing the message out until other people can wake up and see that we're being attacked by an utterly evil regime. What gives Bill Gates the right to walk into Westminster to discuss policy behind closed doors? What gives Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum the right to decide policy which will be enforced inside the nation states? These are questions which all of us need to ask, and we need to demand answers, and we need to do it very quickly, because the world regime that's being created is demonic. And if David has given a Christian slant on what's happening, I can tell you, I have no doubt that what we are now in is a spiritual battle. And if you find this hard to understand, I'm just going to encourage you to do your own research, to think about it. For those who understand the power of prayer, to pray about it. But we are in a spiritual battle. And therefore, we have to fight it on two levels. We have to fight it in a spiritual sense, and that means what you think and say and how you treat other people, and recognizing that we've got a loving God, and we've got to fight it very much on the human scale, which is what we are doing here today. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to say fantastic atmosphere amongst this crowd. You are the warriors. You are making a difference. Somebody's just told me that the demonstration in London is huge.
Yeah!
It is so big that it only started about 40 minutes ago, okay? So we need to keep it going. The UK column will do its best, our best, to keep pushing out the news. But I'd like to say to all of you that we have only been able to do what we do because of your help and financial support. And the good news for 2023 is we are getting bigger. And we will be telling you. We will be telling you in a couple of months' time what is going to happen, but I think you will be very pleased. But remember, everything we say we can do, we can only do because you've given us the help and support in the first place. So I'm going to leave it there. As an Englishman north of the border, it's been a great experience. Thank you all very much. And I believe that David has promised me a wee drammy. And I've also heard that Nicola Sturgeon is on the trail of whiskey now. So if you want to talk about the human level, if you let Nicola Sturgeon take away your whiskey, she has taken away your nation and your identity.
Thank you, Brian.